Good Monday evening, high school sports fans. Joe Gillaway with Lingelstown Gazette Sports live from the Orchard Street studio. And this is our high school hoops weekly recap show. Actually, tonight it's our postseason preview show. And I will be joined momentarily by our panel of experts, along with our special opening guest, which we don't have one tonight. We usually have a coach, and there's just too much content to get to have a coach on, and we do really enjoy having our coaches on, but this is dedicated to the postseason. So let's thank those responsible for bringing you tonight's show. They are Lingelstown Gazette Sports Platinum sponsors, and they are Payor Apparel, Capital Region Insurance Agency, Team PA, AAU Basketball, Ted's Bar and Grill, The Tire Mart, American Legion Post 272, Crystal Bob at Iron Valley Real Estate, Hoffman Ford, Tonino's Pizza, and Sam Hartley Decking. Thank you to these great local businesses for their continued support of Lingelstown Gazette Sports and our area's student athletes. Upcoming, we do have, we're going to continue to do this show, our boys basketball weekly recap show. We're going to ride it out to the end. The last show will be the Sunday following the state championships, and we might be able to get a state championship coach for that. We'd like to. I think we should be able to. And let's thank, as we do every week, Penn Live Patriot News. We do use some of their photos on a weekly basis, along with Neil Rinaldi's. I've never mentioned Neil Rinaldi's name. Neil actually is a stringer sometimes for Penn Live too. A great local photographer. But thank you to Penn Live Patriot News for allowing us to use some of their photos, usually on a weekly basis. We really appreciate that. And how about this one? Let's talk about prostate cancer awareness. 1 in every 7 American men, I believe, or maybe men overall, but I think this is American, will be diagnosed with prostate cancer in his lifetime. I was diagnosed in 2022. I had my prostate removed beginning of December, and I say it every week. This is not about me, though. This is about you and the men in your lives. If you're watching, please encourage them to go have a PSA testing. It's a screening. They take a blood sample, and they can tell if you have prostate cancer. And this is something, if you get ahead of it, you can control it, you can manage it. So we really love to see all the men, and there's the ages. If you're average risk, no later than 50, high risk, which means you're African American or have a family history, probably 40 to 45. If you're a very high risk, please get checked by the time you're 40. And again, African Americans are almost twice as likely to develop prostate cancer and almost 2.5 times more likely to die of prostate cancer. So it is recommended that they're initially tested between the ages of 40 and 45. We love you all, and we want to see you guys healthy and around here. So let's bring in the panel. We have our 2 regular panelists, Dave Berman, the voice of Delco, John Velios, and then our semi-regular panelist, Dan Sostek. Thank you, Dan. He's from Penn Live Patriot News. He's with us a few times every we don't like to take advantage of Dan because these guys work hard, man. And Dan, when I say we appreciate you joining us, we really do. And it's a lot of fun to have you on, and you bring a lot of knowledge. So let's start with some housekeeping stuff. And housekeeping is kind of maybe a little bit outside the lines. Like, look at that. We got a new housekeeping. And we have a lot of kind of 1,000-point scorers and players that took over their school's all-time scoring record just in the last week. I mean, they were quite a few. And let's start with Big Spring sophomore. That's sophomore Landon Sally. Yeah. To get to 1,000 points before the end of your sophomore season, he may have a handful. He definitely has a handful of games left, at least a couple. He reached this 1,000 points in his team's Tuesday night 67-54 knockout win over division rival Trinity. I'm going to call them a division rival. They've only been playing one another for 2 years, but they split 2-2. And let's just say that they had a really brief rivalry before Big Spring leaves for the York Adams League. This Bulldogs win put an end to Trinity's Capital Division and Mid-Penn tournament dreams and was a parting shot before Big Spring heads off to become a member of the York Adams League. Sally scored just shy of his team's, or half of his team's 67 points with a 33-point outing. What a treat for the Bulldogs fan to see the 33 points, eclipsing 1,000, and a big win against Trinity on Tuesday night. Also on Tuesday, it was Milton Hershey's Khalif Turner. There's our Khalif Turner graphic. There he is. In a huge home win, 71-43 against Cedar Cliff. That was a game that kept the Trojans in contention at the time for the Keystone Division title, and it got better for them after Tuesday night. We'll get into that a little bit here soon. And then how about this young man, Jelani Easter? On Thursday, Central Dolphins Jelani Easter, who put up a game-high 30 on State College, on his way to becoming his school's newest 1,000-point club member. So 33 for – not only did these guys all win, but they all scored a lot of points. And I think Turner had 17, if I'm not mistaken. But big wins and kind of a not a win that Central Dauphin had to have, but they got taken to overtime by State College last time. So they probably wanted to win and win big. How about schools?
So what year was Khalif Turner?
He's a senior.
Okay, and Jelani Easter's a senior. Congratulations to both of them.
Yeah, they're both seniors. Yeah, thank you, John. How about schools' all-time leading scorers now? We're going to start with East High's Elijah Cooper, and he moved past John Bowser. John Bowser had 1301, and Cooper is now in the number one spot. There have been a lot of really good basketball players in the history of East High basketball. So congratulations there. And then we would be remiss not to mention this. He's outside of the league that we cover primarily, but Nazir Barnes from York William Penn. The old record was 1496, held by Montrell Morgan, and Barnes passed that and a whole lot more. So he's a junior, John. So yeah, he's got some scoring left to do. That's for sure.
For sure.
And you know, we did a girls show the other night, and we mentioned a couple of the boys. So let's just mention this young lady. I know it's a boys show, but Middletown's Emma Cleland. She helped her Blue Raiders team finish off the regular season at 22-0 while reaching the 1,000-point milestone earlier. This girl is good. I mean, she's a true gifted point guard, real high IQ player, but she also scores. And so Emma Cleland, congratulations to you. How about league championship brackets, guys? I'm going to get you guys in here. I just want to let the people that are watching, some of them don't know that all this stuff's going on. So in progress are the Lancaster Lebanon League. These are league championship series. So that's in progress already.
How about Lambert of Octorara, 21-1. And they won their first. They've only been in the Lancaster Lebanon League for about, I think it's 5 or 6 years. And he gets his first his first win in that tournament. So I think they're going to win the tournament, Octorara. They're loaded.
What I find interesting here, and Dan, you may be aware of this, Hempfield, they're a 6A school. And when you see that 1-1, that means they're the number one seed out of, I guess, the LL1, the highest. They didn't even qualify for the postseason.
Yeah, I saw Ty Savercool tweeting about that, and I have to agree with that. I don't know if there needs to be a tweak or something, or sometimes there just needs to be some sort of common sense corollary there, because that's kind of crazy.
It really is. And how about York Adams?
Especially because Hempfield's been a traditional, like, it's just shocking because they've been such a good program for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're here. These are 4 pretty good teams here. But looks like we could get a Central York William Penn rematch here. So this is the other one that's already started. And then there's Berks, and that starts tonight. 2-9 with 4 matchups, and this is a fun. If anybody wants to go watch some basketball, I know it's a little late for tonight already, but very late for tonight. But it's at the what was it called, Santander Arena, and man, there's so many good players and programs that are represented.
There's more good players than parking spots there. I'll tell you that.
My Lord, you better believe it.
Yeah.
And then last but certainly not least, let's just show. I kind of came up with this graphic myself. Now, bottom left there, Northern York's all but out of it. Okay, I even spoke with their coach Ty Savercool yesterday. He understands the reality of that situation, but until it's official, I'm not. I don't think I'm supposed to be the person that's But Dan, you know what's going on there. They just Greencastle would have to lose.
Yeah.
And there's power rankings are in Greencastle's favor, even if they do lose.
Yeah, it's
by a lot.
Yeah, I mean, but it is funny, you just showed all those brackets, and you get to the mid-pen graphic, and it's just 4 teams, and I get why they do this, but the biggest conference. The mid-pen has to be one of the biggest conferences in the state. To have a 4-team I used to have never been a huge fan of these conference tournaments being 4 teams. I just think there have been years where Milton Hershey, like I think a few years back, Hershey and Mechanicsburg tied for the division win, and Hershey got in over Mechanicsburg. Then Mechanicsburg beats them by 20 in the district.
Absolutely.
I just feel like I get why you want to get a team from each class in, but sometimes it's like Milton Hershey and Hershey are two of the 4 best basketball teams, and only getting one of those teams in this tournament feels kind of wrong. You'd like to. I get it too. It's like the coaches don't want an extra week; they'd rather have the week of runway to have their at-large games and everything. But
Dan, going back to that, I mean, some of these schools like the York League, they end their regular season a week early just to get the tournament in. Yeah. So I mean, the mid-pen could also do that.
I've heard there's not a ton of interest in that, which I just don't know how much traction a conference championship, the tournament's going to get when it's consistently 4 teams. I
mean, me and Joe have been talking about this for years, that these other leagues, their tournaments are just so much better than the mid-pen tournament.
They just embrace them to a higher level.
Right. Yeah. It's more of a competitive playoff nature.
I think the issue with the mid-pens too, and you never want to say teams don't have a chance, but the Commonwealth is usually just so far ahead of these others.
Of course, yeah.
And so there's not a ton of drama. If you expanded it, at least there'd be some drama of which 6A school would come out of it.
Right.
Maybe some years when Trinity is high. Honestly, this year I think Milton Hershey will be able to play. Like if we get Milton Hershey Central Dauphin.
That's what I just said, Joe. Remember?
Yeah. I think Milton Hershey has the athleticism and the size that not a lot of teams can
play the same style of basketball as Central Dauphin, I think.
Yeah, so that might at least add some intrigue. But I've always, and it's not just these sports, at least in like sports like softball, there's a little bit more kind of parity where you can see a Greencastle beat a Central Dauphin, but in basketball, it just kind of there's a lot of I just kind of wish it'd be an expanded field, but I get the challenges of it too.
Right. So let me throw this back up. Is that the boys? Yeah. Just for those at home who are watching, tomorrow night at Mechanicsburg, we have the Commonwealth Division versus the Colonial. Again, it's Central Dauphin for sure from the Commonwealth, and then the Colonial, in all likelihood, will be Greencastle, Antrim, but Northern York's still kind of hanging around there. And then McDevitt representing the Capital Division against Milton Hershey from the Keystone Division. So go out and support some of these teams, some of these student athletes if you're able.
McDevitt has already played and beat Milton Hershey this season.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's right. Wasn't that kind of a big win for that? Didn't they win by a lot?
It was early in the season, yeah.
67-37. Was that game?
And I was at
No.
Yeah, I was at the Milton Hershey game. The entire Bishop McDevitt team was sitting right there courtside for that entire game, scouting. So
wow,
they had a little bit of a head start on them. I definitely don't think it will be a blowout if it's a Bishop McDevitt win. No. I think the Milton Hershey team's playing really well right now. So
how about for just for craps and giggles here, winning streaks? Longest. Anybody know who has the longest winning streak right now in the mid-pen? Milton Hershey with 13.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't know if it was a trick question.
No. Yeah. Followed by Central Dauphin at 11, and then Greencastle with 6. And Rob Moore stepping down. Guys know who Rob Moore is?
Constitution.
Yeah, man. He's had a heck of a
6 state
career there.
championships.
Let's see here. Is this
Four
the one?
state titles.
Okay,
Rob Moore will step
seven
down.
appearances.
Yeah, I made a big post about it on my Facebook page if you guys were following along.
He's this is 17 seasons, 341 wins. I did the math. I think it's 341. But man, if you can average 20 wins a season with the record they play, that's pretty good. 4 PIAA state championships, a 2012 Philly Public League title, the only coach the Constitution boys basketball program has ever had. So that's a loss for them. And I know him personally, and he really cares about his guys. Dave, you know that. He's a guy that just
336 and 171.
336.
16 trips to 16 trips to the PIAA state tournament, 49 and 11. 11 appearances, state semifinals, and 7 trips to the state championship game, 4 state titles. So there you go, Rob, and he could be an analyst with us someday.
I'd love to have him. Yeah, I like him a lot.
Did he say why he's stepping down? Or
I haven't talked to him. No, it's just probably time. He likes.
Yeah.
He's involved. He teaches in the school, and I don't know what he's going to do. I should call him, and I will now that we're talking about it. So how about like we do every week, scores? Let's just throw out some scores of significance or some scores of interest. Anybody watched? I did. Central Dauphin East 69, McDevitt 53.
Yeah, we watched some of that. McDevitt was in there for the first half, and then the third quarter, they just CD East just opened up on them.
It was like 33-30 at halftime.
Yeah, I think it was like 30 to 28. CD.
Maybe that. Yeah, East outscored them 39-25 in the second half. Yeah, so it was 30 to 28. You're right. And number 1 team in the Capital versus the number 5 team in the Commonwealth.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's just what you see.
Yeah, I know CD East was frustrated after they lost to Cumberland Valley earlier in the week. That was a game where Elijah Cooper set the record for set his record, but Cumberland Valley really pulled away. And I mean that gives me a chance to segue a little talking about Cumberland Valley, who I think David Vespignani has done one of the best jobs probably in the entire
great job
this year, given how much turnover there was on that team, especially with the transfer of Jared Olympio. That team plays so like. I told her because they lost to CD East earlier in the year. They got blown out by Central Dauphin earlier in the year. Then they blow out CD East, and they probably should have beat Central Dauphin. They really had that game won at Central Dauphin until Khalil Roberts' heroics. But his team is playing just so hard, and
phenomenal coach.
Yeah, I wouldn't be like they only have basically one player from the rotation from last year.
Aiden Deal, right?
Yeah, Aiden Deal, and
yeah.
But would not shock me if they win a couple playoff games, even though
wouldn't shock me either.
Even though they're probably at a talent not a talent disadvantage, but an experience disadvantage.
Right, absolutely. So how about Altoona 73, Harrisburg 72, and I just have written down WTH.
I don't know. I watched the game. Nobody knows about this more than me. Tremendous job by Altoona. They're only 5-15. But they beat Harrisburg twice, and Harrisburg is much better this year. And just give them a lot of credit, Altoona. Very, very tough. And they've already qualified. We'll get to District 6 later on.
Yeah, we are going to get to District 6.
It's going to be Mifflin County, who's playing at a high level now, 5 in a row. And they're playing Altoona tonight. I'll get to that later on. And then State College is in it. That's always a big story. District 6. I know there's only 3 teams. But, yeah, that was incredible. And I watched the game on TV. I sent the link to you, Joe. Very impressed with Altoona.
Harrisburg can be scary, too. I was at their game Saturday at Central Dauphin, and they were leading for a good part of the game. And Jayon Lewis kind of banged up he has a recurring ankle injury, Dan. You probably know that. He's a baller, man. He can play. Yeah. But, you put somebody on a hobbled ankle, it's just hard. He hardly played in the second half, and that's when Central Dauphin blew it open. How about this one? Greencastle, 65, East Pennsboro, 44. That was a game Greencastle needed, and they won big. Now they play Shippensburg tonight to close out the Colonial Division. Wilson won 2 big games back-to-back, 70-56 over Muhlenberg, 70-67 over Harrisburg. I watched the Harrisburg game. there again, Wilson's a pretty darn good team. Harrisburg played with him till the very end. Harrisburg's so Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, I hate to use that, but that's probably the best way to put it.
I heard from somebody if they lose, they could lose. They play executive education tomorrow. If they lose that game, there's a chance Mechanicsburg could squeeze in front of them. That's what I heard from one of the coaches from Mechanicsburg.
All right, Dan, you know about these power rankings, power rankings. Harrisburg's at 0.634. Mechanicsburg's at 0.606. I've never seen one loss drop a team down that much.
I don't think so.
Yeah, the rule of thumb is typically like 0.1. You can usually
right.
Sure. So
Dave, we're not here to tell you you're wrong either. I mean, you just relayed this message from somebody else. Yeah,
coaches, and there's a chance if Harrisburg loses that game that they might be out. I mean, that'll be interesting.
When's the lockout date for these power rankings?
The 11th.
Okay, so
Wednesday. They can play till Wednesday.
Yeah, but Mechanicsburg only has their final record is actually 10-12, but they only have 9-10 a 9-10 record on there. I don't know why they didn't include the non-league games.
So how about these 3 games in a row for Wilson? They lost to Reading by 4. Reading's playing pretty darn good basketball until Berks Catholic got a hold of them earlier in the week. And then they beat Muhlenberg and Harrisburg back-to-back. So that's just those Berks teams, they play really tough schedules. Cumberland Valley, 58. Central Dauphin East, 36. CV earns a season split with that win. Central Dauphin over Harrisburg, that's the game I was at Saturday, 77-61. Boy, what a big boy game that was. Just athletes all over the floor. Demir Art played really well. I thought he played really, really well. Man, he's athletic. Big Spring, 67. Trinity, 54. Big Spring head coach and his program, Jason Creek and his program, say goodbye to the Mid-Penn. Not that they won't play any more Mid-Penn teams maybe in districts, but
it's a real shame because I know obviously Big Spring's not in our kind of metro area, right? And they're not in kind of but Landon Sally's just been such a fun player.
Oh man. And I think Jason Creek's a great guy too. I mean, I know him just a little bit, but
they also are going to get a lot better.
Great coaches on our show. We had Jason on.
Yeah.
They're going to get a lot better too.
Absolutely.
Their second best player is a freshman, Jovan Strine. They've got a lot of shooting. Landon has to. I think he averages around. He's averaging around 30 points. He has to take. I think he shoots around 25 times a game because they don't have a lot of self creation outside of him. But it's a shame he's not going to be doing that in the Mid-Penn.
Right. I agree.
His brother was a heck of a. That's the funny thing is him and his brother are complete different players. His brother is a post player.
He backed you down. He was kind of big, kind of broad shoulders.
Well, he could shoot, but he wasn't a shooter in the same way Landon is.
Right.
He was more like a stretch 4.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, I think that Big Spring, they just didn't have enough pieces on the team this year.
Right.
Yeah.
So Milton Hershey 71. Mentioned this one before. Cedar Cliff 43. Big win. Milton Hershey kind of had to have it if they wanted to win the division, and they did win the division after a 57-39 win over Hershey. We're going to give Milton Hershey, and there's no actual award or reward, but Milton Hershey is the Mid-Penn Team of the Week. They got to be, right, guys? I mean, geez, Louie, that's a good week there.
They're such an easy team to root because every time you talk to one of those kids, and the first thing they say is, "We were 3-19 a couple years ago," and I think they took that to heart. And Milton Hershey has a lot of there's things about the way obviously being a private school, boarding school, and everything. There are advantages and disadvantages. I think something that really benefited them was just from everybody who's told me from that 3-19 season, they were just basically locked in the gym. They locked themselves in the gym. Like the players themselves were just in the gym perpetually. And we heard I'm sure you heard it each and every summer that the Milton Hershey team was dominating summer league and that they looked like one of the best teams. I mean, last year they almost ended Hershey's miracle run before it even started. They were up 10 in the playoffs against Hershey. I think this team's got a lot of maturity about them. I think obviously when you're following up Mark Zerbe as a coach, that's pretty big shoes to fill.
Absolutely.
Scott Rooney's done an outstanding job with them, and I think just what separates them, what I think gives them a real shot to make a deep run, is that they have size, which you don't always get out of these five. Abdou Dienne's a really fun player to watch.
He's big.
He's big, but he's super versatile.
Yeah.
I wrote a story, talked with Scott about him, and he basically said, every big man thinks they're a point guard, so we figured we might as well work with him to help him. And I think he's hit 23s this year.
Wow.
He's been averaging a couple assists a game too.
Good
as a
him.
big man. He's him and Dylan Crawford really added dimension with Khalif Turner and a lot of shooting. I think they've just got a lot of depth for a 5A school.
So let's just look at this very quickly. Let's look at the you very rarely see a Commonwealth Division champion win by 4 games, but normally the second team doesn't have 5 either. There was a whole lot of head-to-head, beating up on each other the whole season, except for Central Dauphin, and their loss was to Harrisburg again. Yeah. So that was that. And let's move on to, we just talked about Milton Hershey winning outright against Hershey in the Keystone. McDevitt winning outright after that bad, let's call it what it is, bad loss and that's with respect to Big Spring. But Trinity kind of had to have that game, and they didn't get it against Big Spring. So McDevitt, I'm sure they were having a watch party, and what a party it probably turned out to be. And then if Greencastle beats Shippensburg tonight, they will close out the Colonial Division. And let's talk about this. This is something that kind of the Division Championship. Now, there were no ties, or there probably won't be any ties if Greencastle beats Shippensburg. In the event of a tie for a division, head-to-head competition will be the first criteria to determine division entry. If the teams split during the regular season, then the District 3 power rankings determine the division representative in the Mid-Penn Conference tournament. That's pretty cut and dry, but I always like to mention this because people don't believe me when I tell them this. This was last year, and Cumberland Valley swept Central Dauphin last year. And this isn't about Central Dauphin or Cumberland Valley. I'm just trying to paint a picture of how they deal with this. But Central Dauphin shared the Commonwealth Division title. So the official way of them, the way Mid-Penn goes about it is if they have the same record, they share the title. Did you know that, Dan?
Yeah.
I mean, which is kind of odd,
It
but
doesn't make much sense.
No,
but
that's the way they do it. I put that was the 2 scores last year. The second was the Jared DeLimpio baseline shot at the end of the game there. So anyway, so congratulations to those 4 teams, or there's 2 teams remaining in the Colonial as of right now. Again, the tournament sites tomorrow night will be Mechanicsburg and East Pennsboro, and then the championship games will be at the Dome Gym at Cumberland Valley on Thursday.
Bob Schellenberg, public address announcer?
I would imagine so. I don't see any reason why he won't be.
What about you? You doing anything?
I'll just do Central Dauphin girls.
Okay, that's
and
good.
They should get at least a couple games. Don't want to count chickens here, but they're pretty good. I mean, they should win a game or 2 for sure. Okay, so how about we move on to District 3 power rankings, and we're not going to get too much into a couple of them. We really don't. With respect, I say this every week. We don't really have teams in our area that compete out of District 1. Actually, there are geographically a couple, but we just don't cover them much. So that's what you got in District 1. And there are, John, you usually remind me.
10 out of district, 10 of 1A
Right, thank you.
that qualify for districts.
Because I forget sometime to mention that. Thank you. So how about Still High? They're in. And they have James Buchanan, I believe, tonight. Either way, Still High is going to have a tough go at it. They're right now they would play York Catholic, who beat them by 23 earlier in the season. And if they would bump down to 4, which they're about a point ahead, 54.1, 52.9. It's about a full
Delone Catholic just got their first loss of the season in the York tournament.
Okay. All right. Not surprising. Yeah.
Could they lose to
We lost the sound there.
They lost to York Suburban.
Yeah,
by 5.
Good.
Yeah. So,
Good.
So that was 2A. Congratulations to Steel High getting back into postseason. 3A. I'll tell you what, guys. Dan, what do you think of Lancaster Mennonite? That could be a fun game to watch.
Yeah. I mean, this Trinity team is when they're on. Larry has said this. He said, when they're playing well, they're really hard to beat, but they're one of those teams that can go into kind of these funks where they're not playing as well. I think they've, this has been a year where they've tried to kind of find that go-to guy after losing Owen Schleiger, and Andre Steele, for the most part, has been that guy. But there's still some moments there where I think that they are like in the Big Spring game where when things go a little haywire, they can't get it back. But again, that's only happened twice this year.
Remember, they lost Reese Brown too to transfer.
Yeah.
So
yeah, they and Marcus Yeager, I think, has been he's kind of taken more. I think obviously he probably had the longest football season of his career. I think he's kind of rounded the form a little bit. So yeah, I mean, it's hard to ever pick against Trinity in 3A. They always should kind of be the favorite. But this team is definitely, they're not a you just pencil or put in pen that they're going to win it all.
I don't think so. No, yeah. I think Lancaster Mennonite. Oh, they're good just about every year. So.
And Joe, I see you posted the qualifying numbers below there. So just so anybody watching knows, those are the amount of teams that are going to qualify for each.
Yes, thank you.
Level there.
So now we're at 5A. So it's down to right now. Manheim Central would.
You skipped 4A, Joe.
Oh, I did. Yeah, I'm sorry. How could I skip that? Oh my. There's another one. I mean, I can't imagine anybody except for Burks and McDevitt getting to the title game. I just can't.
Yeah.
No way I can envision it. Big Spring could have a big night, though, and knock somebody off. Okay. If they just beat Trinity by 14 or whatever it was, they could beat McDevitt too. Dan, Burks Catholic is really, really good.
Yeah, I mean, they've been kind of the class of this division for a while, at least one of the class, and obviously they've got one of the very best players in the entire state in Kingston McCoy.
Yes, absolutely.
I think he's the latest District 3 player to head to Colgate. I think the last one was Ryan Moffitt from Hempfield all those years ago, who ended up having a really good career at Colgate. So
good call, Dan. That was good stuff there.
I remember that because I remember him back when I was working at the Chambersburg Public Opinion, and he had a big game against one of Sean Schreffler's Chambersburg teams and districts. But I'd say that the best player in the class is Kingston McCoy. But this McDevitt team, there's something they have a lot of different ways they can attack you. They're not really built behind one guy. The Kenyon Porty has been a kind of revelation. He was on Trinity last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's obviously on Bishop McDevitt. Freshman big man Dom Baker is a kid to keep an eye on the next couple of years. And then obviously the Pat Daniscos and Ethan Hammers. They're just really deep. I think that would be the best matchup you could possibly get in the title game.
So I kept this up. Thank you, Dan. I kept this up because Boiling Springs is at 9. They would be the first out at this point. They're so close to Eastern York, but I don't know how much more movement we're going to get here because it looks like just about everybody's done. There's a handful of games left, which, 0.501 and 0.502 are pretty darn close. So let's not rule Boiling.
Boiling Springs has one of the best players in the area that I don't think gets enough credit. Ethan Yenser.
Yeah. Yep.
He's a terrific player. He can't be taller than 5'7", 5'8", but he's one of those kids that just plays well above his size. I think he averaged 25 points a game, but you look at his numbers and it's not just he came in as kind of a shooter and has really added a ton to his game. I think he has 90 rebounds on the year, a ton of steals, tons of assists. If his career ends missing playoff by that margin, it kind of stinks. But
that's a small margin.
But he's really helped that program kind of regain its footing after Trey Martin graduated. So I just want to give him a little shout out because he's been a super fun player to watch.
All right. So we got
Joe,
Dave Berman back.
Joe, I was
out
like
for a couple seconds here, but yeah. You don't know, you guys don't realize how privileged I am because of being a radio broadcaster, going to college up in South Central PA, working up on the radio there for 35 years, how privileged I am to be on your show, guys.
Well, thank you, Dave. We appreciate
Can
you.
I at least get that on there?
And I don't know what happened to you for the last 5 minutes, but we're almost done here. It was a while. He went black and I couldn't see you or hear you. John, go ahead, bud.
Yeah, I'd like to mention also too that like for the longest time, 4A used to take 10 teams in the playoffs. Up until a few years ago, it changed where they went down to 8, and 6A used to be 12 and went up to 16.
Good info, John.
Yeah, so like some teams, that usually would have made it in 4A aren't going to make it this year, and then obviously when we get to 6A, we're going to have more teams making it.
Correctamundo. So 5A is where a lot of our teams qualify, they play out of. So naturally they qualify. The only one that's kind of probably again for the same reason, Paul Myers at 17, and they're very close to Manheim Central. But I mean, Manheim Central is definitely done. Paul Myers is done. They have no more games. So the only way that you're going to get any movement for Boiling Springs or Paul Myra is by a couple of these teams playing, and it's like degrees of separation. Well, this team beat this team earlier in the season, and to try to get real specific about that, you just have to have an understanding of the way the power rankings work. But Paul Myra is probably going to be on the outside looking in. We do have Milton Hershey, Greencastle, Northern York, Redland, and East Pennsboro, though, representing the Mid-Penn. And then 6A, we have an interesting matchup here, probably. 1 and 16 would be Central Dauphin and Harrisburg, part 3. Man, they split on the season. Harrisburg played them tough once. I know the final score wasn't close, but Harrisburg played them really tough one Saturday, and that just could be an interesting opening round matchup. Have you seen Harrisburg at all?
I think I once.
Were they Dr. Jekyll or Mr. Hyde that night?
It is. They're one of those teams, right? Where they're almost a team that you'd almost rather kind of face a more like steady Eddie team than a team like Harrisburg, where they're the way they are the exact reason that 16 beat 1s in these tournaments.
Right. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it.
Because usually why these teams run away is because of the athleticism gap, and there's not going to be any when Harrisburg plays Central Dauphin. There's just not like Jayon Lewis, you could argue, and every time he steps on a basketball court in District 3, he's going to be the best athlete on the floor.
He's so strong and so athletic.
Yeah. But even with all that being said, when Central Dauphin is playing the way that they should be playing, especially defensively, they obviously have their top scorers, Shakur Starling, Johnny Easter. But I think one of the keys to that team is Khalil Roberts. I think it was cool that he got his sort of moment of glory making that buzzer-beating floater. Because
what a shot that was!
I talked with Coach after that game, and he basically talked about how important that kid is to their team. He's kind of he's the glue guy who does a little bit of everything. Seems like a terrific kid too. Who just I think he's all about winning, and I think those are the kind of guys that help you avoid those upsets, right? Is having the people who know their role and fill their roles really well. Even guys like Jackson Davenport off the bench as well. Yeah. So I would have a hard time seeing Harrisburg repeating that. But like you said, if there's going to be a 16 team to do it, it would be a team like Harrisburg.
Right.
Yeah, well, it's good to see Harrisburg after 2019, 20 is the last time they even made the postseason.
6 years.
So finally getting into it. So Maxwell, Damone, great job and good luck in the District 3 6A tournament.
Yeah, that would certainly be an environment there at Central Dauphin. I imagine there'd be a lot of Harrisburg fans.
Man. So
you lose, you're done. You're done.
There's just too many other games to kind of let's see here. Where's
Big year for CD East to make it in the playoffs too, Joe.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're of course securely in at 13.
They haven't made it in a few years.
No,
Quite a few years. What, 7, 8?
Yeah. No, it hasn't been that many. It hasn't been that many.
5A, District 3, 5A takes too many teams. You can lose in the first round, and then they have another round just to get the 9th place.
They do that. I did you know that, Dan?
Right.
You could lose in the first round in 5A, and you go to the what do you call it, the losers bracket or
I know that. I always have to triple check when I'm covering a game, being
Dave said that.
Yeah.
The other day, Dave told me that. I was like, I don't think so, man.
Yeah, last year, Manheim Central lost in the first round, a big upset. And I said their season's done. And somebody said, no, they put all the 8 losers into a bracket to see who gets the 9th spot. Jeez.
So how about let's just look at this. And that's the starting dates for the district championship by classification. Again, it's going to be up until the final game. It's all higher seed gets the home game. Is that the way it works?
Yeah, I believe so.
And no more Giant Center, right?
At least as of now, it's just a 1-year hiatus due to scheduling.
But this year, though, right?
That is what the messaging is. We'll see if they hold to it, because you kind of feel like this would be a good way to kind of slow roll. We're not hosting these anymore.
Right. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And in some ways, it's like, do you? In some ways, it's almost like a neutral. I'm not sure about the neutral sites, what the environment would be like there, but sometimes these games aren't very crowded. Like, it's just hard for these teams to fill for a district championship game. Right. So I do kind of get it, but it stinks.
It's putting it kindly.
Yeah.
2017 last time CD East made the playoffs.
Okay. Yeah, because they were like 13-10, I think, a few years ago. I guess they didn't qualify though.
Don Ross was the coach. Big upset over Abingdon in the first round of the states.
Okay.
Remember that?
So we only gave you the first round, the final, or the first round there. PIAA3.org. That's the District 3's website. So you can go on there and see all the dates. Dave, before we move on to the Linglestown Gazette Sports Top 10, and you guys will be able to tell me how wrong I am. Let's how about District 6?
All right. Real quick, I want to say that I do a lot of announcing. I get to give a shout to the Chester Biddy League, one of the best feeder programs, basketball, boys and girls, in the state of Pennsylvania. I was PA announcer Saturday for their all-star games down here. And the talent they have is unbelievable. Unfortunately, not all of it, as Dan walks away, not all of it is going to Chester High or Chester Charter. So it's unbelievable.
No, they're getting yanked. They're getting recruited away.
It's unbelievable. But anyway, shout out a listener, Stephanie Adamczyk. Her son was playing in the tournament, the showcase the other day. Maximus Adamczyk, a great name, and Stephanie played lacrosse in Elizabethtown, so she was happy to hear about the show. She has a couple kids coming up, and I told her this is a great show to get caught up around for statewide basketball. District 6, all 3 teams have qualified.
Is that how it is every year?
No. Altoona's record, well, they're a little bit better. They beat Harrisburg twice, so they feel they're qualified. They're 5-15, playing Mifflin County tonight. A big challenge for Mifflin County because it's an opportunity, just like last year, Mifflin County to beat a 6A school. Well, they're 6A anyway. Mifflin
They
County.
don't play many though.
No, Mechanicsburg, and they play
Cedar Cliff.
Right. Cedar Cliff.
But they didn't play any non-league 6A teams.
No, District 4. But next year's Wade's he's gonna toughen up that schedule. But anyway, so it's going to be. I don't know if Mifflin County's going to get the top seed. Mifflin County, if they win tonight, 11-10, second most wins, ties it for a season and wins in a season, and they're going to win. And they close out the year against Bellefonte, who's 1-19 this week. So Mifflin County, good chance they'll be 12-10. State College has slumped, and they are now 11-11. And again, if let's say Altoona loses, they'll be 5-16, but they have, it's an open tournament. I don't know who's going to be. I know Altoona will be third. Mifflin County or State College battling for the top spot. So
let me tell you something about State College's 11-11, Dave. Okay, yeah. They've beaten Hempfield, the number 1 seed out of 6A in Lancaster, Lebanon, Harrisburg, Chambersburg, Williamsport, Central Dauphin East, and Cumberland Valley. And listen to their non-league schedule: Red Lion, Hempfield, Lower Marion, Williamsport, Central York, Erie McDowell, Hazleton, and Exeter Township.
Well, Mifflin County, it really doesn't matter to them because they've been competitive the last couple of years.
Okay.
So close. You know what I'm talking
I'm just kind of defending State College. I know 11
that's a legit schedule, Joe. I mean,
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Oh,
right,
my
so Mifflin
Lord.
County, do you give them any credit? Like if they beat Altoona tonight, I mean, that's a team that beat Harrisburg twice.
It doesn't matter to me. They're 5-14. They're just, or whatever they are.
All right. So yeah,
those wins are baffling. They're great wins. Yeah. I'm just saying that doesn't make you a real all that of a great team. You
got to give Mifflin County credit, and Dan said it on the pre.
No, they were great wins for Altoona.
Yeah. Okay. So Mifflin County's won 5 in a row. They could end up the regular season with 6 in a row to close out the year. Yeah. And then they do contact Penn Live, Harrisburg Patriot. They know how to promote their kids up there, which is a great thing. And it's a great thing to see.
So let's give you the platform for District 1, District 12. What do you like down there? Who do you think is going to be the teams to maybe beat in the state championship tournament?
Bonner should, in my opinion, throwing it out there. Nothing against our Penncrest team, Springfield Delco, Upper Moreland, and of course Upper Dublin. A lot of uppers down here. I think Bonner is I think they're a favorite to win not only the Catholic League, our 2 Chester guys, Corey Francis and Jakeem Carroll. Big article on Jakeem in the City of Basketball Love today. Big article, ABC News out of Philadelphia interviewed Corey Francis today. So I think Bonner's going to win it. Catholic League and the 5A state championship. And in 6A, I think it's going to be Plymouth White Marsh or I'd love to see Chester, but I don't think it's all right. But we'll see. But I think the favorites are Plymouth White Marsh and Coatesville to win district.
Who's going to win the Philly Catholic League?
I got to ask. I got to ask Dave Michael how I haven't kept up with it. How's my alma mater, Wissahickon High School, doing?
They play Chester on Friday night, and they're a good. Kyle Wilson's Coach Wilson, right?
Yeah, he was the coach when I was there.
Yeah. So and they played Chester in the first round. Chester ended up 14-7, but if Chester lose, this is unbelievable. Chester has only missed the PIAA state tournament from 1981 to 2015 twice. If they lose to Wissahickon on Friday, it'll be the second straight year they miss the PIAA state tournament and third in last 4 years.
We always ran into Chester when I was in high. I remember we lost to Rondé Hollis Jefferson when I was in high school.
2005 was the state semi.
I was a big Steel High guy. I followed Steel High heavily for a long time, and Chester would be their nemesis. And Steel High was like a 1A school playing 4A, which Chester was the highest class. And
Steel High a couple times.
Yeah, man.
I could get the whole history. I know that I don't want to talk over anybody here. They could. So yeah, Dan, that's going to be interesting. So hopefully, that's my predictions for District 1, District 12. Imhotep, how about Imhotep losing last week, 36-34 to Parkland. Up at Parkland.
So really good sports school. They can win games.
In basketball, it's a little bit easier to win state tournaments. Reading showed that winning 3 for a public school, and then Central York Parkland a couple of years ago. Football, different story when it comes to Catholic League and the public. So there you have it, Dan. Keep up the great work.
Roman going to win another Catholic League?
No, it's going to be Bonner.
Okay.
Roman barely beat Devon Prep the other day.
Somebody's got Roman as like one of the top teams in the state, right?
Yeah, but Bonner they're playing.
Okay. Is Bonner the team that beat Central Dauphin in overtime?
Yes.
Earlier in the year. That was before Olympio.
Also beat Coatesville by 20. Bonner did.
Wow, that's a big win. Coatesville.
Devon Prep is in. They're in the 4A. They're going to be watch out for them. That City of Basketball Love gave them a shout that I watch out for them again. Devon Prep in 4A and West Catholic in 3A. You saw what they did last year.
They're defending state champions.
Yeah.
Both defending state champions.
District 1 finally, for the first time since Lower Merion in 2013, win a state championship in boys basketball.
I think West Catholic finished the regular season like 5 games under 500 last year.
Yes.
And then went and won 6 or 7 games, whatever it was, and just finished just over 500. Okay, so let's move on to this. The LG Sports Top 10. And it's important that I mention none of my guests, none of the panelists had any input into this. And you're not going to want to own this anyway.
Top 10 where, Joe? Mid-Penn or District 3?
Mid-Penn. I use eye test, head-to-head, if there is any, overall record, overall resume, which is who they beat, who they lost to. I focus more on who's actually the better team. Okay, that's why I just said, State College is a great example. They're 11-11. I think they have a better resume at 11-11 than some teams that have only 6 losses. I know they do. So I did factor in schedules. Again, State College would be a good example. So let's look at this. And I know Dan already doesn't like where I have Hershey because you mentioned earlier that you think they're one of the best teams in the Mid-Penn.
I think Dan had them at 4.
I got him at 6.
Right, Dan?
It's hard to argue against these rankings. I just think that Hershey's, you kind of have to defer a little bit to their pedigree and their reps. But then when you just remember all the kind of 6A schools that you have and the fact that they're 0-2 against Milton Hershey, I would like to see. I think them versus McDevitt's an interesting conversation. I think them against Chambersburg would be a fun game to watch. I think Chambersburg probably has a little bit more depth. That one of the reasons they lost that Milton Hershey game is Cam Sweeney was in foul trouble the whole game. He picked up his second foul, had to go to the bench, came back immediately, got a third foul on a technical for a gesture. So I had to sit out the entire rest of the second quarter. And then in the third quarter, he quickly picked up his 4th foul in a 2-point game, and Hershey did not score the rest of the third quarter. So I guess that's kind of one of Hershey's weaknesses is they are a little just super reliant on Cam.
They really are. Last year they had some other players around him, and I say that with respect. Yeah,
Drew Grant is a very good player, but is probably not yet to that carry the team type of guy that Cam is. I think you'd be hard pressed to find argue that there's been a better player in the Mid-Penn this year than Cam Sweeney. So that's kind of where I defer to them a little bit.
Now,
are we discussing these teams now?
We can. Yeah, okay. Let's just start at 10. Let's start at the bottom. Greencastle, they're probably only in there because they're probably going to win the Colonial Division. They have 1 quality win all year, I think. They 2. They beat Big Spring. That's a quality win. Yeah. And they split with Northern York. So they have 2 quality wins all year. They lost to Mechanicsburg, not a good loss. They lost to Cocalico. Cocalico's kind of down this year. And they lost to Chambersburg by 29. But there again, that's that Commonwealth versus Colonial.
I'd probably have more Commonwealth teams in here, honestly.
I had a hard time.
CD East just beat McDevitt by 16.
I think CD East would probably beat Greencastle. That's
what I'm saying.
I went against my own theory.
You're using records and all that and stuff, not just head to head.
But I'm giving Greencastle number 10.
You can't play this game though. But like a team like Cedar Cliff beat Milton Hershey, and Milton Hershey blew out CD East. So it's
right. You're right.
Property stuff.
Yep.
Right. You're right.
So State College, they're 11-11. Again, I think they could beat some of these teams above them, but some of the teams above them just have better resumes, I think. State College, they're 11-11 now. Best wins over Hempfield, Williamsport, Central Dauphin East, Cumberland Valley, Chambersburg, and Harrisburg. Their losses are to Central York, twice to Central Dauphin, Red Lion, Exeter Township, and Lower Merion. that would be the best group of losses you'll pretty much ever find. I mean, they're just some strong losses. So to me, they definitely belong in the top 10. State College. How about Cedar Cliff? Unless anybody wants to mention State College. Cedar Cliff, 16-6 overall, 11-3 in the Mid-Penn Keystone Division. They're ranked number 7th in the 6A power ranking. I didn't use power rankings a whole lot. I mean, I used it a little bit, but their best win.
One of the biggest turnarounds probably in the entire district. I believe they were 3-19 last year.
They caught me by surprise this year, and they just kept winning and winning. I mean, I thought, they'll fall off, but they didn't.
Their two leading scorers, Mo Ahmed and JVL Walker, are really good players, and then they've added. They've kind of slowly incorporated a Marion Autry, who's a really good football player for them, back into the rotation. Troy Jure is really good. Kevin Rutherford's just done a very good job with that team. So
he's probably up for. I mean, we don't do anything along those lines, but he's probably one of the top coaches of the year in the Mid-Penn.
There's a ton of great coach of the year candidates this year.
We can talk about. Yeah, we'll talk about that after we're done. We'll finish up with that. And then Trinity, 19-2 overall. That's low for a 19-win team. 7's pretty low, but when you see who's ahead of them. 12-2, finished second in the Capital Division. They're ranked number 1 in 3A. Their big wins were against Lancaster Mennonite, Bishop Guilfoyle, and York Catholic. York Catholic's a 2A school, but they've won lots of games. They split with McDevitt, and they split with Big Spring. So another really good season for Coach Kostelak and his guys. I mean, I think some people would probably disagree with having them down at 7, and I could be wrong. But McDevitt, I think, has to be ahead of them because what have you done for me lately? McDevitt just kind of had the better. They finished out the season a little better. 18-2, 13-1, number 2 in 4A. Their big wins were against Milton Hershey, Big Spring twice, and they split with Trinity, and that lost to Central Dauphin East. That kind of just showed some blemishes, it showed that they beat
Cedar Cliff by a lot too, Joe.
Oh yeah, yes they did. That was the 67-37 game. Right, guys? Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah. Thanks, John. I forgot to mention that. So I think McDevitt's firm in number 5. If anything, they would go up maybe a little bit rather than down for sure. Chambersburg, I'm just being kind of I'm dedicated to Commonwealth Division basketball. 14-6 overall. 9-5 in the Mid-Penn Commonwealth Division. They beat York Suburban, a good York Suburban team. They beat Greencastle by, 29. They beat 16-4 Penwood. Dave, how good's Penwood? They okay?
Chester beat them twice by 15 and 20 points. Penwood's good too, 6-7 guys. That was 2 good wins for Chester. We'll have to wait and see. Anybody can beat anybody.
So Chambersburg, I'd say that's a good win for Chambersburg over Penwood.
Oh yeah, over Penwood, yeah, it's good.
They beat Hempfield, they beat East High twice, and they beat Harrisburg twice. So I don't have a problem especially with who they have coaching that team, Scheffler, with having them at 4. Number 3, Milton Hershey. They probably moved up, from somewhere down around 5 or 6 in my estimation just in the last week. 20-2 overall, 13-1 in the Keystone Division, number 1 in 5A in the power rankings. They beat outside of their division. They split with Cedar Cliff. They beat Hershey. They beat Hershey twice. Dan, help me out here. They beat them twice.
Yep, twice.
And they beat Central Dauphin East. I watched that game. East was kind of haywire that day. That was only a couple weeks ago. Did you watch that at all, Dan?
No, it was against CD East.
Yeah, it was at home.
Yeah, I was at that game.
East was kind of a little haywire, didn't you think? They just didn't.
Well, they came back in the third quarter, made it a 2-point game, and then Milton Hershey ran away from them again. I personally think this Milton Hershey team stacks up with a lot of the 6A teams this year. I just think they're really good. Yep,
I agree. Okay, so here I'm a big Dave Vespignani guy, and I don't have Cumberland Valley at number 2 just because of him, but 14-7, 8-5. They play Altoona, I think, this Wednesday. So they might finish 9-5. They'll probably finish 9-5. Their big wins are against Hazleton, Williamsport, Abington, Wilkes-Barre. They split with Chambersburg, Central Dauphin East, and State College. and losses to Bonner Prendergast, not a bad loss. Upper Dauphin, not a bad loss. Central Dauphin twice, not bad losses. I mean, they're not bad losses at all. Bonner, Upper Dublin, and CD twice. So I like CV at number 2, and I'm using the eye test there a lot. How would they match up against some of these other teams? I think they'd match up against any of them pretty well. They match up against Central Dauphin very well. And then, of course, Central Dauphin 18-4 overall, 18-3 in PIAA play, 13-1 in the Commonwealth Division, number 1 in 6A. Their best wins were against Wilson, 5A West York. West York's 21-1. I think they're 21-2 now. I think they just lost in their in the York Adams tournament. York High and Central York, they were their best wins. Their losses were Bonner, Prendergast in overtime, Harrisburg, Muhlenberg, and then a non-PIAA school, Haverford, who is currently 20-4. So anybody like anything you see here? Anybody dislike anything you see?
I do like the score that I just saw. Mifflin County 55, Altoona 25.
Oh, wow.
Early in the fourth quarter. Mifflin County just has their defense is unbelievable. They're playing at a high level right now. That's in a row. They're 11-10. They'll crush Bellefonte. They're going to end up the year 12-10.
Okay.
They lost 9 of 11, and Joe, I told you, didn't I?
Well, we're not here to debate Mifflin County, but Altoona's 5-14.
Yeah.
If they beat,
they'll be 5-16 after tonight. So they're going to go, but they still qualify for the District 6. So who knows?
I'm going to be impressed. I'm going to call you right away if they beat State College, whenever that is. That's in a couple days, I'd say. So Dan, I think you like Hershey a little higher, right?
Yeah, I think I think maybe flip McDevitt and Hershey, but then it's hard to do it because McDevitt has that win over Milton Hershey, and
this was grueling, guys. I took this seriously.
Yeah, and then like you want to rank Milton Hershey number 2, but then you remember that they've lost a couple of their losses are not to the best of the best. You don't want to call a team that has their record Jekyll and Hyde, but they do have they are still more of a defensive team than some offensive juggernaut. They just make life really difficult for you defensively, and in that when you kind of get to the higher stages, that kind of can lead to some losses that So I mean, and that's we said it earlier in the show. I really want to see them take on Central Dauphin. I would favor Central Dauphin in that game, but I don't think it would be a game that she had 0 shot to win at all.
You want a front row seat for that one, that's for sure.
Yeah,
John, what do you think? Anything you'd have differently? You guys aren't here to agree with me, by the way. If you do, that's great. But
your list is good based on records and all that stuff. But in reality, I'd have a couple other teams in there instead of like a Greencastle or Cedar Cliff.
You'd probably like East Central.
I'd like East at 10. Yeah.
Yeah, I do too. I don't dislike. I think they were my first out. I really do think they were my first out. And I went against my own reasoning by putting Greencastle in there. I only put them in there because they're probably going to win the Colonial. But I said before we got started here that I didn't kind of favor teams just because of stuff like that. So
I'd like to see a District 3 list. That would be.
That would take a lot. That would take a lot more work.
Yeah.
All right. So I guess that wasn't a colossal failure. I think the girls was a little tougher. We had a girls show on Friday night, and I could have sat down and done that 3 times, and I maybe got 3 different lists. Other than the couple of Central Dauphin and Altoona are the best, the last few years. But other than that, once you got to 3 through 10, Mechanicsburg was 3. But anyway, let's close with this. Dan, talk about who you like with coaches wise.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about Vespignani. I think they kind of all the conversations. Whenever you're talking about the top coaching jobs in the Mid-Penn, it just always starts with Vespignani and Schreffler. They're just, I think, the very best coaches in the entire state. I think if you gave those guys any single roster, they would pretty much get to the playoffs at this point. They just they're so good at establishing cultures. But we talked about Kevin Rutherford. We talked about Wade Curry a little bit too. Other guys did a great job. I think Ryan Hill did a pretty good job at CD East this year. He's kind of helped bring that program a little bit back. Yeah, I mean, obviously Jason Creek kind of dealing with his limited rosters as well. And then Scott Rooney. Sometimes you don't give credit to teams that just kind of were dominant all year, but he's another guy that's done a tremendous job. I'm trying to think if I've missed
Ty's favorite goal?
And yeah, Ty say, of course, Ty didn't even mention Ty on his own show. It's almost like I think we all kind of figured Northern would be better this year just because they had a lot of young guys that showed promise. But I think the way they were better, like they had some guys come out of basically nowhere. Avery Ewer leads the mid-pen in assists after basically not playing not getting a ton of run last year. So yeah, Ty's obviously
not a lot of star power there.
No.
Again, I say
Luke
that with respect.
Luke
Layman's, yeah, right.
Scott Gaffey at Solanco. Scott Gaffey.
Yeah, I thought if we're talking District 3, absolutely. Yeah. And then the other name I was going to mention, of course, is Jim Rao from
absolutely.
I do think McDevitt was a team that a lot of people in the know said they were going to, no matter
they're talented.
Then no matter who was the coach, they were going to improve a lot. And
they're talented.
I imagine Jim probably wasn't going to take the job unless he knew that the team was going to be pretty good. Like, because because Jim's been out of coaching for a while now, so you're not going to take over a program with no chance. But he's done a terrific job with that team as well.
You know who I think's a very good coach too is Brian Shawley.
No, I mean college. One of the best. That's not an easy place to coach.
No, and I always thought he was good. I mean, really good. But I was talking to Wayne Fletcher just recently. I mean, maybe before this season or last season, and I said, "Man, what's it been like to coach in the It might have been after he resigned, to coach in the Commonwealth Division, and I mentioned the usual suspect names, and he's like, "Don't leave out Shawley, man." He's like, "That guy has given me fits." He said he is so hard to coach against. So
he's probably the youngest of all of them, right? I think he's a very young. He's a really young coach.
I just saw him the other night, just a few nights ago, up at State College. He was supporting the girls team against Central Dauphin. Yeah, so. Yeah.
And we didn't even mention Paul Blackburn. I think it's easy to kind of just say, "Oh, they have Cam Sweeney," but
how did we not mention him? He's great.
They lost a lot. They lost a lot of guys, and I mean, Paul's probably one of the most positive coaches I think you could find.
Positive human beings.
Yeah, he's just such a good dude, and
yeah.
I talked to him after the loss of Milton Hershey. He was totally upbeat, and he basically said, our guys aren't used to losing a lot, but. We didn't deserve to win this game, but we didn't win the division last year either. And then they went and made it as far as they did. And I mean, I think he just a lot of these. I think you can tell who the great coaches are because they tend to have really good regular seasons. Because I think when you get to the playoffs is kind of when the true talent level kind of carries you a little bit. But in the regular season, it's coaching really gets you far.
Lots of good coaches. All right. Anybody else have anything for the good? Dave Berman?
Good, man.
What are you doing? What are you up to these next couple of days? Anything?
Bicentennial first round, quarterfinal boys basketball game. Chester Charter hosts, probably Doc Mennonite doing that. Doing an Octorara, first round Octorara District 3 game next Monday, probably against Elko. County. So I'll be doing your area teams. Good luck. Gene Lambert's the man, so hopefully he can go a long way.
Right. John Villiers, you're going to go out and watch any games? You're going to go watch your buddy, Coach G? Girls?
Yeah, for sure.
That's tomorrow. They're playing 22-0, I believe. They're definitely undefeated. Middletown is 43-1 in the last two regular seasons.
Who knocked out of the playoffs last year?
York Suburban in the district championship. Total mismatch.
Who beat him in the States?
What's that?
Who beat Middletown in the States?
I don't remember. But Middletown's got a lot of talent. They have a lot of good players. They have the Emma Cleveland at point guard, and of course Jayla Kozier, and she's all state. So anyway, and then tomorrow night it would be Central Dauphin in all likelihood against Greencastle boys. Dan, how about you? Where are you going to be hanging out here?
I got to figure that out. I think I'll be at the Milton Hershey Bishop McDevitt game.
That kind of sounds like a better sexier of the two boys matchups. You know,
I think that's going to be a heck of a basketball game.
I would love to see that game.
Yeah, I think it'd be a heck of a game. So,
all right.
I do have a final score.
What's that?
Mifflin County 62, Altoona 40.
Wow.
They're going wild up there. I'm watching the wild up there in Mifflin County.
Wow. Okay. So now they have
5 in a row.
Now they have State College.
No, they got Bellefonte. They'll beat.
No, I mean, but Bellefonte has nothing to do with the district, right?
Pick.
Right, they have one more regular season game, and then I think State. I don't know. I think Mifflin County with 12-10 record should get the top spot and get a bye, and it should be State.
There's no way they should get the top spot over State College. No way. I mean, I'm not here to debate my panelists, but I just can't imagine that.
They have two more wins, 2 less losses.
Oh, Dave, it's just not even. I just told you everything. All the wins that State College had and all the tough teams they scheduled, and Mifflin County, they haven't had a good win all year, a quality win.
Very close, man.
Their best win all year was against 9 and 10 Mechanicsburg. No, and I just told you I'm not trying to debate you, but
they beat Shikellamy, even though they're 5A. They were 14-8. So
well, I don't know. I think that you have to give State an 11-11 State College team the top seed in that tournament.
It'll be decided in a couple of weeks, and the winner of that goes to play either Erie High or McDowell.
Oh, McDowell's good. They just blew out State College.
I'll keep you abreast, man. It's a beautiful thing, and we have one of the districts already decided pretty much who's going to be in the championship party.
All right. So if you're viewing, let's see. We have a comment here. All right. Now they're just talking to each other. The viewers. Go out and watch some basketball, folks. If you're watching this, we just told you that Berks Catholic, Lancaster Lebanon, York Adams, Mid-Penn starts tomorrow night, and then there's basketball all over the state. So Dan Sostek, Penn Live Patriot News. As always, you do a great job, and we really appreciate you joining us. John Velios, thanks a lot. Appreciate, and Dave Berman, voice of Delco. We'll probably talk tomorrow, Dave, sometime.
Yeah.
All right.
A lot going on.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening.
Okay, guys.